From the studios of Public Access TV and from the station, the Channel 4 City of Iowa City television station, I would like, on behalf of John Karhoff, Michael Peterson, and the team of Public Access TV to welcome our very distinguished guest tonight, Amy Kortemeyer, the Assistant Superintendent of the Iowa Iowa City Community School District. And I cannot tell you how delighted we are to have you tonight, especially because of the storm. We canceled you, but you were generous enough to accept our invitation to come tonight in order to speak to our viewers about this urgent upcoming kindergarten registration, as well as some other things that are in our minds, like the boundary and zone changes and all that. I know it's a big load, so I will let you talk to our audience about we begin by first give our viewers a little reminder of who you are. How did you end up being our assistant superintendent?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Hani. I'm glad it worked out for me to come this evening so I could share with our parents and our audience about kindergarten registration. Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is my fourth year already, I can't believe it, in the Iowa City Community School District, and I'm lucky enough to have the honor of being the assistant superintendent. I largely work with our 21 to be elementary school buildings and get to oversee a lot of the work that's done there. So I find that as an extreme honor and am so pleased to be part of this school district. Spent my time, most of my career, all focused on elementary, whether that's having been an elementary classroom teacher, a reading teacher at the elementary level, worked in various school districts, large and small, lots of variety of demographics. Was a self-contained classroom teacher, also worked in a multi-age classroom, and then aspired to work in administration, so I went on and did my grad work at the University of Northern Iowa. I do have my undergrad degree from the University of Iowa, so go Hawks, got to put a plug in there, of course, and was an elementary principal in Cedar Rapids for 6 years, and I spent some time also at Linn-Mar Community School District as their elementary director of teaching and learning, and last year there I was part-time only because I served in the role of a superintendent for Springville Community School District. So I've had a great variety of experiences coming into this role, but I certainly appreciate being part of this team, which I think is top-notch, and I sure believe in so many of the wonderful things that we have going on in the district in the way of educating our youth of Iowa City and the other municipalities that make up our school district, so Coralville.
And in return, as a matter of fact, on behalf of our people and our educators as well, we are lucky to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, your achievement is very well known, and I remember last year when you were here, we were talking about 19 schools, and the year before we were talking about 16 schools, and every time you come here, you are increasing the number.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
What we're able to do with our facilities and our needs, and we have to be thankful that we're part of a growing district. You know, not every school district in the state of Iowa is growing, and when you're losing students, the pain that comes along with that is decreased amount of funding, and we're already in a situation where we know we're underfunded in the state with education, so at least we're not also trying to overcome the hurdle of losing enrollment. We've been in a good position that way.
Are we going to have Kristen Grant School soon?
Yes, Grant School is scheduled to be opening in the fall of this coming year.
Wow,
So,
yeah, that's
that
impressive.
It is impressive, although the project right now is slightly behind schedule, and we're working with the contractors to ensure that that's going to be open on time.
With all this flood, I mean, the soil and all that, yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, welcome to our show. It's always a delight having you, and let us shed some lights about this registration that is very, very crucial, very important for parents to know how they can enroll their kids And after that, we'll talk about the zone changes.
That sounds wonderful. So first and foremost, we have changed our date of kindergarten registration. We initially were hoping to have it on February 28th, but due to the missed days of school due to the wonderful winter weather we've been having lately, we actually shifted that and are moving that to March 4th right now. So I've got some slides I can share with the audience tonight, and we will be having kindergarten registration from 7:40 in the morning to 7:10 at night on March 4th. That is located in each of our attendance centers.
And the dogs can come too?
Yep.
I see that.
There we go. So for families, they should register at their home attendance centers. Now, a little bit tricky in all of this is that we are going to register our families that will be out at the new Hoover Attendance Center, the Hoover on Barrington Road, that will become open in its official capacity next year. We will register those students at the current Hoover building on Court Street. So that's one thing our audience should know. The other thing our audience should know is that Grant Elementary, since the building isn't built right now, we are hosting or holding kindergarten registration at the North Liberty Community Rec Center on that same day. So our families that are going to be new Hoover families or Grant families, they are being located off-site, not at their current buildings right now, of course. As far as kindergarten registration, we are trying to do our due diligence by informing everybody of not only the event, but of course of the date change as well. So we have flyers in all of our buildings. We've sent some flyers home. I'm here tonight talking about this at the Education Exchange with you. We've got some of our bank marquees across town are helping advertise this for us. Our building principals love the kindergarten registration video that we put together each year, and that is displayed on at various places on our district website, our building websites, and also on TV. So that's how we're trying to inform. We also have sent out Blackboard Connect messages to our families so that we're reminding them. And then what should our families expect once they come into our buildings? Typically, we say registration takes between 30 and 45 minutes. Sometimes it can be upwards of an hour, particularly for our families that may have language barriers. It takes us a little bit more time to explain what's happening. But we would hope, or we need from our parents, three things when they come to see us and enroll their students. We need verification of birth, so birth certificate if all possible. We'll certainly work with our families if they're not able to produce a birth certificate. And some occasions this happens, and we can work through and brainstorm what other kinds of documentation might be acceptable. And any immunization records that families already have on their students, and then proof of residency. And this is going to become really important for us this year. We require proof of residency each year. But this year in particular, where we have our attendance zones changing across the entire district, it's going to be really important that people are aware of those attendance zone changes, that our office staff that are helping parents enroll are looking up and making sure that their addresses are indeed zoned to that particular building for next year as we are undergoing all of these changes. So next you think about, well, what happens when I get there? I'm going to bring this documentation that we just asked for, but a part of that time is creating Power School accounts, and Power School is our student information system, and that's where we'll start to house a bunch of information on our students, particular to their demographics, but information that we need too, the parents' information, guardian information, so that in the case of emergency, we can get a hold of our families. But this really helps us start to build our class lists and understand our kindergarten enrollment so that we are also staffing our buildings accurately. Parents are provided several different documents, a few of which are just good information for them to have, and those three items would be our kindergarten ready for school guide. We have a document that just talks about immunization requirements, and then a page that we call kindergarten enrollment. So those parents get to have and keep in their possession. We do ask our parents then to fill out a lot of forms that we will need returned to the office. And some of those you'll see, or all of those you'll see listed here. So these are forms that are required to return to school. It's quite the feat to get our kids registered when you think about it. So we need the certificate of dental screening, certificate of immunization, certificate of vision screening. We have all of our families fill out the home language survey, kindergarten questionnaire, kindergarten student health history, and a student residency questionnaire. There are also some forms that we make available to our families that they are optional. So we have an application for pupil transportation. So in the state of Iowa, if you are a family living more than 2 miles from your attendance center in grades kindergarten through 8th grade, we as a school district have to provide free busing, and so those forms are available at the school if you believe you're in that situation and would like to have the bus transport your child to school. We also do, in very rare instances, still do offer half-day kindergarten. We do not have very many families that take us up on that. That's kind of been a thing of the past, but certainly for particular situations, we will work with families to offer a half-day experience. And then if any student needs to have medication at school, we need parents to have a permission form for that on file.
And all these forms are translated for people who are not native.
Right. So right now in the district, we have over 80 languages being spoken by our students, if you can believe that number. But the vast majority of our families are speak English, of course, but then our next top languages are Spanish, Chinese, French, Swahili, and Arabic. And we have done the translation on all the forms that we can. Some of the forms, like with immunization, we cannot have translated. We
Sure.
need to have in English. But for the forms that we could and for the information that we could, we have translated, and our buildings all have access to those translations.
Great.
I would just wrap up and say, what happens then after kindergarten registration? It's end of February, beginning of March, and that's a long time until the school starts in August. We do offer something that we call kindergarten roundup then for our families, and that's going to be held this year on April 18th.
Is that an orientation?
It's more of it's a chance for the child and the parent to come to school for about an hour from 2:30 to 3:30 on April 18th. Typically we separate the kiddos and the families, and so our staff can have more of a conversation and answer questions for our parents. They'll get to meet the kindergarten teachers, the principal typically, the counselor, maybe the school family advocate. There's a presentation that's shared with the parents. It really walks them through kind of the day in the life of a kindergartner, and then the kindergarten student or the kindergarten to be students come, and there's activities for them in the gym, and we can get acclimated to the students that way as well. And then our district has a long-standing tradition of an ice cream social in August. Yeah. So that'll happen on August 21st at all of our attendance centers. That night, students can come, meet their teachers, see their friends, bring their school bags, drop off their supplies, and then school officially will kick off on August 23rd. Great.
That's wonderful. Now, shall we move to the boundary changes and the zone, the new zones, and how this is going to go? Work.
If you've been following the work of the board of directors and just have the awareness, like we already talked about, of opening our 21st elementary school building next year, of course there's a need then to change our attendance zones. And when that happens, there's a lot of work that has to happen behind the scenes to ensure that everybody's being communicated with, and that we're thinking about the variety of programs or departments and the impact that that is going to have. So not only are we opening Grant Elementary in North Liberty, we're also opening the new Hoover building on Barrington Road. And so we've got students at both areas, northern area of the district, southern area, southeastern area of the district being zoned to new buildings. But along with that, the board of directors last fall really worked for about the last year to look across at our buildings and look at our demographics, and tried to make some further tweaks to our attendance zones to better balance our buildings. And given that, there's a lot of student movement happening next year. So we've worked really hard to develop different communication for our families so that they're aware of these changes. And after that board vote that made it official at the end of November, we communicated with our families first through Blackboard Connect emails. regarding district maps had changed. They were available now. District attendance zones, homeschool lookup where you could put your address in, that had changed. But we knew we needed to further communicate with our families, and so we've developed something called the Elementary Roadmap. Parents received electronically, and then this was sent home with all of our students in the month of January. This too has been translated into several languages that I mentioned earlier, but it speaks to our families about things like the attendance zone changes and what website links to go to look up the district map or the building that they will be located at next year. We thought of before and after school programming for our families, particularly those that would have to change from one building to the next. You know, one of their first questions is going to be, am I going to have after school daycare available to me too?
Right.
So we've worked on timelines and enrollment procedures for them. We have something called voluntary transfer, and while the board really went to work to limit what can happen at the elementary level in the way of transferring from building to building, there are still some exceptions, and so parents actually have until this Friday, March 1st, to fill out that form, and they can see if they're eligible for any of those exceptions to attend a school that is not their home attendance school. Transportation, we made note of the deadlines in here for mandatory busing. Those applications are due April 1st. For pay-to-ride opportunities, those applications are due June 1st. We go on to talk a little bit about kindergarten registration and roundup, what this program is largely been about tonight.
We still have time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then transition opportunities. So because we have so much movement happening across the district, we're trying to be an open and as welcoming at our new attendance centers as possible. And on the evening of April 4th, we will have open houses at all of 20 of our elementary buildings, so that parents that are having to go to a new school, they have an opportunity to meet some teachers, the principal, tour the building. We're inviting our families then to PTO and PTA events this spring and summer. And just encourage them to check out the individual school website for those opportunities. And then we've shared with parents, you know, what August will look like, elementary registration day on August 5th, and then those items that I mentioned before with our ice cream socials on August 21st and school opening on August 23rd. And then at the back, we did a nice job of putting these dates all in chronological order. So we're just really trying to get the message out about
Let us
attendance.
highlight some of those dates too.
Yeah.
So
some important dates I would say is this March 1st date that's coming up on Friday. So any parents that's requesting a voluntary transfer, that's due on Friday. April 1st, our mandatory busing applications are due. So
I will take your permission here to explain to our audience what do we mean by mandatory busing.
Sure. So earlier when I shared that parents in the state of Iowa can apply for free busing if they live more than 2 miles away, that's what that's what I'm referring to as the mandatory busing.
Okay.
Those applications are due April 1st. Of course, we're going to have families move into the district after that, and we'll continue to accept those applications. We have a pay-to-ride application, so for families that are not eligible for that mandatory busing, they live less than 2 miles away, but might have interest if we have bus routes going by that are not full and they've applied for a pay-to-ride busing, they could jump on the bus for a fee. And then again, just back to August 5th, registration day, 21st, our ice cream social, and 23rd, when we're going to kick off the 1920 school year.
Super. Few comments in the next few moments that we have here. Of course, this is a tremendous job that you have to do every year. And how many people are working with you in this effort?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people working behind the scenes. So, you know, I have to give a lot of credit to a lot of staff at the ESC, as well as the physical plant, transportation department, all of our elementary principals, and just so on and so forth. I mean, it's down to the teacher level as well. You know, as I think about making sure and ensuring all of our families are aware of these changes, from time to time we'll still come across a family that's not aware. Even the amount of communication or the avenues of communication that we're using, you know, we're still uncovering some families that aren't aware that their zones are changing, and we're really trying to take advantage of elementary conferences, and we're right in the middle of conference time right now to make sure we're communicating with our families, putting the maybe translated versions in front of some of our families that aren't aware. So we're just trying to think of every different way we possibly can. But yeah, I mean, you think about what all the departments that are impacted by the level of change and shifting of students. It's curriculum materials, it's staffing has to change at some of our buildings where we're losing population and gaining in others. So there's a, human resources department, before and after school, programming, transportation that I mentioned before, but so on and so forth. I think all facets of the organization are involved, and so I hate to not give credit where credit is due, and I apologize if I've missed anybody, because it is really a huge team effort when you're talking about changes of this nature.
And this is actually noticeable to anyone who goes to this activity and see the effort there. I remember last year I attended this at Kirkwood Elementary, and I saw how this is just amazing, the harmony and the way this is done, and how parents are welcomed in the school, met by the principal and taken care of by lots of young teachers and interns, and it was a very impressive visit. I attended from the morning till the end of the day, and they had 2 shifts that day, in the morning as well as in the afternoon. So I think I was covering it for the Press Citizen at the time.
Okay.
But it was so impressive. Now, let us see if you have about 3 more minutes. If you want to cover anything related to elementary education in Iowa City, you are welcome to talk to our parents about it.
Sure.
If you have certain, I know there are some topics about the equity issues and all that, and I know that you worked so hard, Steve Merrily and you and the other people in the leadership, in order to make, let us say, I don't want to use the wrong term, but in the meantime, I don't want to use a lot of jargons here. Make every school look like the other school as far as the percentage of minority versus and you worked so hard on that.
Yeah.
How successful you were in covering this or
Yeah.
accomplishing this?
So I think the board really took it upon themselves to help better balance our elementary buildings. Of course, we're not all sitting at the district averages of what our demographics look like, but we've made some headway with the attendance zone changes that are going to come up for the 1920 school year. I also think with the approval of the new voluntary transfer policy, the board also recognized that more of our students staying at their home attendance centers also would help help balance the demographics a little bit better than we'd seen in the past. But you're right, I mean, equity is on the mind, first and foremost on the mind of a lot of our work in the district, and whether it's in the hiring aspect of trying to diversify our staff so that our staff looks more like our student body.
This is very, very, I mean, this is a remarkable achievement.
Yeah. So that's top of mind. Also, just our curriculum, as we have these curriculum adoption cycles put in place, and we're looking at various subject areas year in and year out, just making sure that our curriculum is multicultural, gender fair, and that we're reviewing that and really thinking about the students that are sitting in our classrooms and each of our buildings. Do they see representation in the materials that we can provide to our students? That's another piece. When we're talking about professional development, we're in year 3 of trying to provide implicit bias training to all of our staff across the district in a 3-year project with West Winds. So that is year 3 of this. We try to keep in check how our students are feeling, and as well as our parents and our staff, by doing surveys each springtime with all 3 groups to just check in on, how are we doing? Are we building a sense of belonging for all of our students? Do all of our students feel valued? Do they feel like they have a mentor or somebody that they can talk to? Are they treated fairly in their buildings? All of those things we know help set the stage and lay the groundwork for an educational experience that's going to really help just their academic achievement if they're comfortable in our buildings. But first and foremost, they have to have a sense of belonging and that we care about them and others care about them. And that's really where we need to start, and those surveys do a good job of telling us if we're making headway in those areas. So those are things I'm proud of. And
Amy, you are a great leader,
Thank you.
working with a team of great leaders as well. And thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. I mean, it's good that you are so fluent and you covered a lot of things that maybe it could take a couple hours to cover, but you did it so beautifully, and thank you very much. We really feel great that you are here tonight, and would like to see you again.
Thank you.
Maybe before the end of the year to tell us how things went,
Sure.
Thank you.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
And for our audience, thank you for listening. And I hope that you had now collected enough information about the upcoming registration for the kindergarten, and you know what are the new changes in the boundary and how you can cope with this with your kids. Amy, thank you very much, and congratulations for your continual success.
Thank you. Appreciate being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Super.
Thank you.
Mission accomplished. I was like, when the last week was canceled, I said, oh, that's very important, for our viewers. And because,
they change.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And as well as that we are on Channel 4 now, the city will keep showing it. So that's important too. Yeah. Thank you.
Worked out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Worked out well.
Whoops, that's still connected.
And
I was going
mine
to take it
too.
home with me.
Mine too.